Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another Dragon Ball Super discussion. And this time I am joined with the one and only John Oppai from Anime Live Reactions. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing great, brother. Hola mi gente, this is Oppai Senpai. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yes, and in this video today, we're actually going to be talking about something that John recently brought up with Black and Fist, where we were talking about should Dragon Ball Super have its own filler series, or should Dragon Ball in general have its own filler spin-off series, and how would it work? So in this video today, we're going to talk about should it have a series, how would we actually do the series itself, and how likely it actually is to happen. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So John, why don't you open up by saying whether or not you think Dragon Ball should have a spin-off filler series where we just pretty much see characters in their daily lives with slice of life activity.
You know, after seeing episode 60 and just seeing how far the show is taking it, I really do feel like the show should have a series. It should have a dedicated separate series from the main storyline that we can consider a filler series of not just 4 or 5 episodes, but you know, possibly 20 or more episodes. I would love to see that. And by the way, we ask you guys, we will really appreciate it if you guys actually engage with us in the comment section and leave your thoughts on this video and like all the questions that we talk about, because we're gonna be reading through the comment section and taking some of your best quotes and best lines. So make sure you participate with us in the video. But yeah, that's I really do think this should be a filler series.
Now, what are the reasons why I've always felt that Dragon Ball should have a filler series is because it gives us a very different perspective of the actual characters themselves. So let's use some examples of Dragon Ball in general. So in my opinion, I think that when you looked earlier at Dragon Ball Super, the first 2 episodes, you look at episode 1 where you see Goku pretty much being a radish farmer, and you look at episode 2 where you see Vegeta was going on that family trip with Bulma and Trunks.
That was fun.
That was amazing, and it really gave us like a different perspective of like the characters, John, because you're seeing Vegeta, this alien from a plane, from, you know, obviously a foreign planet. He's interacting with humans and actually engaging in like human activity, and that was very interesting to see the way he was meshing and molding with stuff. And if we go back to Dragon Ball Z, let's look at the episode where we saw Piccolo and Goku getting their driver's license. That was a very interesting episode because you're literally watching 2 aliens getting their driver's license when in fact they can fly, so it's completely irrelevant to them. But that was fun filler because it put the characters in situations where they normally wouldn't be in. And I think one of the biggest highlights that really actually motivated me into making this video would have to be right after the Battle of God's Arc, where we saw the episode in which Hercule was once again giving himself credit for defeating Beerus. Right. That was a great episode, and the interesting thing about that one, John, is that you get a chance to see like Hercule going back towards his life as like this superstar celebrity and how he's taking credit for it, and you're also seeing how he's nervous to fight against those aliens and how he wants Goku and Piccolo to help him out. So that gives you a very unique perspective on Dragon Ball, and those moments can't be replicated anywhere else, even if Dragon Ball's a serious series. So what do you think about those elements, John?
Well, something about that episode, it was actually shared, there were a lot of clips from that episode shared all over social media by a lot of people. People just loved it. They couldn't get enough of it. So that really showed that you could have a filler series or, you know, a filler episodes and be successful if you do it the right way. I do agree with you that a filler series needs to dig deeper into the characters, especially the main characters, and also the characters that were a little bit discarded throughout Super. So for example, Goten, where is Goten? What about Gohan? Well, why don't we do something where we follow Gohan in school and his studies and maybe some of the challenges that he has as a father, and that sort of stuff. And Vegeta, of course, more him going on trips or just some sort of comedy. So I definitely agree that those elements should be put into the filler series.
Right, and just to add to what you're saying, John, before we move on to the next segment of this video, I think something that Geekdom, Hail Zeon, and I have discussed before is that Dragon Ball is a shonen manga. It's completely shonen in its approach to attract young boys. That's literally what it transfers to. So when you look at it from that perspective, if you had Dragon Ball with the shonen manga techniques and strategies that the show tries to portray itself in, looking at Goten and Trunks, they actually would make a perfect way to solidify Dragon Ball as a completely shonen manga, because you can see the types of adventures that they go through, especially when we looked at throughout the Planet Potafu arc. Was it the greatest arc in Dragon Ball history? Absolutely not. But Goten and Trunks are two characters, especially because they're young boys who are always up to nonsense. You can always kind of throw a story element at them. So with all that said, I would definitely say we both agree that it should have a filler series, wouldn't you say?
I do. And what's interesting is that after episode 60 really had a lot of focus on Kid Trunks and a lot of character development there. And after watching that episode, I feel hungry for more. Like I feel more connected, emotionally connected to Kid Trunks. So if they were to do a series or a few episodes with just Kid Trunks and Goten, people would definitely watch it just because they have that connection with Kid Trunks, and that will give Toei the opportunity to also do some character development on Goten. So yeah, I mean, those two paired, when they're together, man, they're a lot of fun.
So John, how would you, now let's talk about how you would actually organize the filler, or how long you would make the episodes, or how would you pretty much do this series?
So let me start out by giving you two great examples. First of all, there's this show called Full Metal Panic, and Full Metal Panic, there's a lot of action. It's a very serious show, but they also had a side full series called Full Metal Panic Fumofu, and that was comedy using some of the action elements from the main series, but for the most part it focused on comedy, and it was very, very successful. Just like Attack on Titan has a series called Attack on Titan Junior High, and the main series is just all comedy, but there are some action elements from the main series put into this filler side series. So I mean, it did well. So I do think that Dragon Ball, they would have to really focus on comedy. I mean, they do it well. When they do it, they do a pretty good job. So the filler series will have to focus on comedy, and it will also have to be episodes dedicated to particular characters, not just to two characters, but going through Hercules' life, maybe Gohan, Goten and Trunks as a pair, maybe a little bit of Goku and Chi-Chi, Vegeta and Bulma. So yeah, that's how I would do it.
Interesting, John, because for me, like, I was thinking with Dragon Ball Super, or Dragon Ball in general, obviously Super would make sense because it's kind of like the ongoing series. I would put this filler series probably after Super ends. So I would probably put it in like a peacetime right before we know the events that ended Dragon Ball Z, but right after Super would be, you know, cleaning up its arc. And the reason why I would do that is because a peacetime makes sense. If you have major villains that are interfering, it kind of takes away from the spin-off series. But what I think you can do is, like you said, you can have like a series. It doesn't have to be 100 episodes, but you can rotate between, you know, Gohan's day at work, Baby Pan's adventures. And what I also was mentioning...
Oh yeah, Baby Pan.
Yeah, because I mean, we saw with the Pilaf Gang, who I'll mention right now, the Pilaf Gang is very, very, very interesting in this discussion, John, because I feel like the way they're always trying to go on their little mischief adventures, maybe shouldn't want to make them the focus of this filler series, but the Pilaf Gang by themselves could make a great spin-off series. Like, you can actually do a whole series about Emperor Pilaf and all of his adventures with Mai and Shu. Would that be successful? No, because I think at some point people would get bored with Pilaf, you know, and they would want the other characters. But you can mix Pilaf up with the others and have him like interacting with the other Dragon Ball characters. You can even do a series about Monaka too. Monaka would actually be a great character. He would be a fantastic character for this.
He would be a fantastic character.
Because of the fact that Monaka's a character that, you know, we don't know a lot about, and he's not very strong, so you can add a lot of comedy elements with him. So what are the things would you try to add, or like characters that you think would be interesting for this spin-off series?
Well, before I do want to say that you bring up the Pilaf Gang. They could be a great they could be those type of characters that transition into other characters, that the story's not focused on them, but they appear in pretty much everybody's story in some way or another, because they do know about time traveling, they know about spaceships, they know about, I mean, they had experience with pretty much everything now, so they could be mixed into the group. And then your question as to which characters should I focus on, or can you repeat?
Yeah, but like, what other characters do you think would make interesting, like Jocko or Hercule or any others?
My top, if I was to just say the top three, my top three, Gohan, because so many people are asking about Gohan. Hercule, because he's just a king when it comes to comedy, and he's proven already himself that people love him, and he can be a successful character. And then the third will be Kid Trunks and Goten. I think those would be great. Now, Monaka, I don't see him going too far. I mean, maybe a few episodes. I mean, if I can think, I mean, this could be out there, but if they focus on Beerus, or that he might be too much of a high caliber character. But I am interested to see what does Wiz do on his free time with when they're just chilling, when they're not war characters. I would like to see that. Maybe Omni King, but I mean, he just pretty much just does nothing. So it would be interesting to get a little bit deeper into those characters.
Right, and also it would also be cool to see if the voice actors could do both shows. But you were saying off the air, John, just to close out this part of the segment, is that you were talking about Kaba, and you said that you believe Kaba could also be interesting.
Yes. Oh, Kaba. Yes, Kaba. There's so much left. So many unanswered questions. I think, well, my belief is that after this arc, we're going to go into Planet Sadal, Vegeta, Kaba. But if they don't do that, I do think Kaba, and it will have to involve Vegeta. Kaba on its own, I don't think will be that great. But if Vegeta gets involved in some way, I think that will be an incredible filler. That can go over 15 episodes, honestly. They can do so much with it, go into the history of the Saiyans. It would just be so interesting.
Yeah. You could even do a whole spin-off series on Future Trunks and his timeline, too. That would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And Master Roshi, I mean, the potential is enormous. And you could even revive old Dragon Ball characters like, Launch. But that could be going a little too far of a stretch. But, I mean, it'd be fun to bring her back just for fun. But, ultimately, John, this has been a great conversation. But we have to talk about the legitimacy of how likely this is to happen. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think this would probably happen. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I think it's too anti-Dragon Ball. Because when you look at Dragon Ball Super, and obviously I'm a YouTuber, so I only have a super small scale of what the community thinks. But when the first 2 or 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Super were coming out, I noticed in the comment section that a lot of people were starting to get a little frustrated because although they liked the episodes, they were feeling that it was a bit too slow. And I think that at some point people are going to say, to hell with this, I want to see people beat the shit out of each other. And that's why I think that wouldn't work. It would be a great series for the hardcores, but I just don't see the casual or moderate Dragon Ball fans keeping through actively with all these filler episodes when Dragon Ball is this action-packed show. They're always fighting these supervillains. What do you say?
I say it would have to. I agree with you that when you said earlier that it would have to be done after like the main series when we have a moment of peace. I don't think Toei Animation. It's very unlikely that they will even do this type of filler series, but. I mean, we're in the modern anime has changed since Dragon Ball first started, and I do feel that if there is enough of an interest and they want to sell new type of merchandise with new characters, and they want to there is a high interest for the show, it's possible that they could experiment maybe with some OVAs, just like One Punch Man has 7 OVAs right now, but and now they've just announced season 2, but it's very possible that they could do an experiment. They could experiment with it, but in terms of how likely it is to happen, very unlikely, unfortunately, and that's very sad.
Yeah, that's the sad part of all of it, guys. But ultimately, though, at the end of the day, guys, I thought this was very interesting to bring up because I've also heard for years that Dragon Ball would work with the spin-off series, and some people have said it wouldn't. And I'm actually very curious to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section below. So tell me, guys, do you think Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball in general should have its own spin-off series? And if so, what are some of the things that you do? Because this is going to be a very interactive discussion. I'm going to be doing these weekly interactive discussions with you guys to really get a feel for what you guys as the community feel. So
and also let us know in the comments what sort of topics do you want us to cover next week and the upcoming weeks, because we'll be reading through the comments, taking the topics that you were interested in.
So with everything else said, guys, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And before you go, please check out my good friend John Oppai from Anime Live Reactions. He does a lot of great stuff. He actually has like this whole series called Dragon Ball Super English Dub, where he actually like voices over the characters and makes it seem like the epic Toonami intros of the past. And I think that it's really great stuff. John has a phenomenal, growing YouTube channel, and I definitely think you guys would love his content. If you love Dragon Ball Super, you're gonna love John's videos. So with everything else said, I'm signing out.
See you later, guys. Have a great day.